Have you ever wondered why some people do so much, yet their lives hardly change? They wake up early. They work hard. They are always busy. But year after year, their position stays the same. Their income stays the same. The feeling of being stuck stays the same. The problem is not effort. The problem is focus. Like sunlight, when it spreads everywhere, you only feel warmth. But when it is concentrated into a single point, it has the power to create fire. Your life is the same way. When energy is scattered, results stay average. When energy is focused, progress becomes irreversible. Many people live their entire lives in a reactive state. They let emails, phone calls, and other people's problems decide their day. They do not choose what is important, they just deal with whatever shows up. And then they call it working hard. I used to be like that. I thought that if I just did more, life would get better. But I learned a costly lesson. Being busy is not progress. If you do not decide in advance what deserves your attention, the world will decide for you, and the price is always time, energy, and unused potential. Sustainable success does not come from doing more things. It comes from doing fewer things but doing the right ones, and doing them intentionally, every day. In the next part, I will share the first principle, the principle that helps you realize why most people are trapped in fake busyness and how you can break out of that loop and start creating real momentum in your life. Principle 1. Busy is not progress. There is a trap that many people fall into, and they are even proud of it. They say, "I'm very busy." They say it with exhaustion, but also with pride. Busyness has become a badge of honor. The busier they are, the more they believe they are moving forward. But the truth is different. I want you to pause for a moment and ask yourself a very simple question. Are you busy, or are you heading in the right direction? Because there is a huge difference between motion and progress. You can run all day on a treadmill, sweat pouring, heart racing, but your position does not change at all. That is motion, but it is not progress. Many people are living exactly like that. They wake up early. They work late into the night. They respond to every request. They solve every problem that appears in front of them. But at the end of the year, they are still in the same place. And here's what I had to learn through years of stagnation. Busyness is not a sign of discipline. It is often a sign of a lack of direction. When you do not decide in advance what is important, you will be pulled into everything that looks urgent. Other people's emails become your priorities. Other people's problems become your schedule. And you end the day feeling exhausted but empty. I used to think that if I did enough things, success would automatically come. But I was wrong. Doing many things does not create results. Doing the right things repeated long enough creates results. Think of your life like a piece of land. If you scatter seeds everywhere, no area is cared for deeply enough, and you will not harvest anything meaningful. But if you choose one plot of land, care for it every day, water it consistently, protect it from weeds, sooner or later, that land will reward you. Intentional focus begins here. Stop worshiping busyness. Many people judge a good day by how tired they feel at the end of it. But wise people judge a good day by this question: did I move closer today to something that truly matters? There are tasks that make you tired, and there are tasks that move you forward. They are not always the same. A student can spend hours reading all kinds of materials, yet never touch the most important subject. An employee can be busy all day, yet not spend a single hour developing their core skill. A small business owner can chase every opportunity, yet never build a sustainable system. Everyone is busy, but very few are moving forward. I made that mistake myself. I let the day control me, instead of me controlling the day. I reacted instead of acting intentionally, and I called it effort. But then I realized one thing. If you do not control your attention, you do not control your life. Attention is the most valuable asset you have. Money can be earned again. Time cannot. Every time you place your attention on something unimportant, you are withdrawing from your own future. And here is the part that makes many people uncomfortable. Not every good thing is worth doing. Not every opportunity is worth chasing. Not every request deserves your attention. Successful people are not good at saying yes. They are extremely good at saying no. No to things that keep them busy but take them nowhere. No to things that create the illusion of progress. No to things that consume time without building value. And here's the question I want you to ask yourself honestly. If you continue living the way you are now, what will be different about your life in 5 years? If the answer is unclear, that is not because you lack ability. It is because you are letting busyness replace focus. Intentional focus does not mean you do less because you are lazy. It means you do less because you are wise. You choose a few truly important things and you do them consistently, even when no one is watching. You accept not looking as busy as others in exchange for progress that others do not have. And when you start living this way, something interesting happens. You feel less tired, you feel clearer, and results begin to appear, not because you do more, but because you stop doing what is not worth doing. And that is only the beginning. Because once you realize that busyness is not progress, you will be ready for the next principle, the principle that helps you move from a life constantly chasing circumstances to a life guided by intention. Principle 2. From reaction to intention. Successful people do not live by being pulled around. There are two ways to live a day. One is that you choose it. The other is that you let it happen to you. Most people do not realize they are living the second way. They wake up not with a clear goal, but with a list of things waiting for a response. Messages, calls, problems, requests. They step into a new day not with a plan, but with a defensive mindset. That is reactive living. Reactive living does not require much thinking. It only requires you to always be in a state of ready to deal with it. And because of that, many people drift through their entire lives without ever truly leading their own lives. I used to live like that. I thought that if I was quick enough, flexible enough, hardworking enough to handle everything that came my way, results would automatically appear. But what I did not realize was this. When you do not decide the direction, you will move in the direction that circumstances choose for you. Imagine you are driving a car. If you do not put your hands on the steering wheel, the car will still move, but it will not go anywhere meaningful. It will only react to the road, to potholes, to sudden turns, and sooner or later you will get lost. Life is the same. Reactive people always feel like they are busy handling things, but they rarely feel like they are building anything. They are very good at putting out fires, but very poor at designing the future. Living with intention is different. Living with intention means you decide in advance what deserves your time and energy before the world has a chance to interfere. I learned this when I realized that every one of my days ended the same way, tired but unsatisfied. I had done many things, but when I asked myself, which of these actually moved me closer to where I want to go? I had no clear answer, and that was when I understood. If you do not design your day, someone else will do it for you. People who live with intention do not wait for inspiration. They do not wait for a more favorable day. They start the day with a very different question. Today, which one thing, if I complete it, will make this day valuable? Just one thing, not 10, not an endless list. A reactive student studies when there is a test. An intentional student studies every day, even when no one is testing them. A reactive employee works hard when pressured. An intentional person develops their core skills even when no one asks. A reactive person waits for motivation. An intentional person creates structure. The difference is not in circumstances. It is in the decision. And here is what makes many people uncomfortable. Living with intention forces you to take responsibility. You cannot blame your schedule. You cannot blame other people. You must admit this. The way you use your time reflects your true values. When I began living more intentionally, my life did not become easier, but it became clearer. I knew what I was saying no to and why. I knew what I was patiently building, even if I could not see immediate results. Living with intention is not about controlling everything. It is about choosing fewer things, but choosing the right ones. You do not need to manage every minute. You only need to protect the most important blocks of time in your day, those blocks that, if used correctly, will change your future. And here is the paradox. When you live reactively, you always feel like you lack time. When you live intentionally, you do not need more time. You just need the right time. I used to think success required me to always be available for everything. But I learned that success requires me to be unavailable for many things in order to be fully present for what matters most. Ask yourself one question, slowly. Was your day-to-day designed or merely survived? If you cannot answer clearly, that is not a failure. It is an invitation to start living differently. And that is simply the next step after realizing that busyness is not progress. Because once you stop worshiping busyness, you begin to ask a deeper question. So, what truly deserves my focus? And to answer that question, you need the next principle, the principle that helps you reorganize your entire life with one simple image, but an extremely powerful one. Principle 3, if you do not place the big rocks first, you will never place the small ones. There is a simple image that is powerful enough to change how you organize your entire life. Imagine you have a clear jar. Next to you are 3 things, big rocks, small pebbles, and fine sand. If you pour the sand in first, then the pebbles, you will never fit the big rocks. But if you place the big rocks in first, the pebbles will fill the gaps, and the sand will flow into the remaining spaces. Everything fits. Your time is just like that jar. The big rocks are the things that truly determine your future. The pebbles are tasks that need to be done but are not breakthrough level. The sand is small, urgent, noisy tasks, but rarely important. The problem is, most people are pouring the sand in first. They fill their days with trivial tasks. They respond, handle, resolve, and at the end of the day, there is no room left for what truly matters. And then they say, I don't have time. It is not that you do not have time. You just have not put the right things in the right order. I used to live like that. I thought that if I finished all the small tasks, I would have free time for the big things. But that free time never appeared. The sand always found a way to fill the jar. And I learned a very clear lesson. The most important things will never get done if you wait until you are free. People who live with intention do not wait for tomorrow. They do not wait for motivation. They schedule the big rocks first. A student places the big rock of studying the core subject every day before opening social media. An employee places the big rock of developing the most important career skill before responding to every other request. A person building a career places the big rock of personal discipline before chasing opportunities. They do not do more than others. They simply do the right things earlier. This is the subtle but decisive difference. Unsuccessful people prioritize what is urgent. Successful people prioritize what is important. Urgent tasks scream. Important tasks are quiet. If you do not intentionally listen to what is quiet, you will be dragged by noise all day, and when the day ends, you are exhausted but not moving forward. Intentional focus requires you to make an uncomfortable decision. Not every day should begin with easy tasks. The big rocks are usually hard. They require thinking, they require discipline, and they rarely provide immediate satisfaction, but they create momentum. I realized that my best days were not the days I completed the most tasks, but the days I completed the single most important task. One task that, looking back, I could say, today made a difference. This is the question I want you to ask yourself every morning. If today I could complete only one thing, what should it be to make my future better? This question is not meant to pressure you. It is meant to make you clear. When you are clear, you do not need much motivation. You just need commitment. And when you place the big rock first, something interesting happens. Small tasks begin to adjust themselves. Unimportant things naturally fall away. You do not need to control everything, you only need to protect what is essential. Many people fear that if they focus on a few big things, they will miss out on something. But the truth is the opposite. You do not miss life when you focus, you are building it. Distraction creates the feeling of busyness. Prioritization creates the feeling of progress. And that is why this principle is so powerful. It does not require you to become someone else. It only requires you to rearrange the order. Not doing more, but doing first. And when you begin your day with the big rocks, you will realize that you are living differently. You are no longer chasing the day, you are leading it. And that is just the next step in building intentional focus. Because once you have chosen what matters most, the next question will naturally arise. How do I sustain energy for this every day? And to answer that question, we need the next principle, the principle about the deep connection between attention and energy. Principle 4. Energy flows where you place your attention. There is a silent law that governs every result in life, whether you realize it or not. That law is simple. Energy always flows where you place your attention. You do not need more time than other people to make progress. You need your energy in the right place. Think about sunlight. When it spreads everywhere, you only feel warmth. But when that light is concentrated through a lens into a single point, it can create fire. Not because the light is stronger, but because it is focused. Your life is the same way. When your attention is divided, your energy is divided with it. You work all day, but at the end of the day, you feel drained. Not because you did too many hard things, but because you did too many things that were not aligned. I have been through that feeling. I worked from morning to night, but the results did not match. I thought I lacked time, but then I realized I lacked convergence. My energy was leaking in too many different directions, and none of them was strong enough to create momentum. Attention is not only where you look, it is where you place your mind. When you are in one place but your mind is somewhere else, energy is lost. When you start one task but think about another, your energy never reaches the level needed to create real progress. Successful people are not necessarily the ones with more energy. They are the ones who protect their attention better. They understand that every time they switch between tasks, they are trading away energy. They do not jump from one task to another hoping to optimize their day. They choose to stay with one thing long enough until the energy begins to build. Momentum does not come from rushing. It comes from staying with an idea, staying with a skill, staying with a goal even when it has not paid off immediately. Many people quit not because they are not good enough. They quit because they do not stay long enough for their energy to converge. Intentional focus means you decide in advance where you will place your attention, and you protect that decision from distractions. You do not let your day be torn into pieces by things that demand instant responses but do not build your future. Observe one day of your life. Where does most of your energy go? Into building or into reacting? When you place your attention on building, it can feel slow at first. Results do not come immediately, but as each day passes, energy accumulates. You start to feel your confidence increase. You start working with less resistance. And then, at some point, momentum appears. On the other hand, when you place your attention on reacting, every day looks the same. You are busy, you are tired, and you start to wonder why you always have to try so hard just to stay in place. I learned that mental energy is more precious than physical energy. You can work hard with your body, but if your mind is scattered, results will always be limited. When the mind converges, even small steps make a difference. This is why disciplined people look calm. They do not panic. They do not chase everything. They know that every time they say no to distraction, they are saying yes to energy for what matters. Attention is an investment. And like any investment, where you place it determines the return you get. If you invest your attention in small, trivial things, the return is small and trivial. If you invest your attention in what is essential, the return grows over time. Here's an important question I want you to ask yourself honestly. What is receiving most of your attention, and where is it taking you? This question is not meant to judge. It is meant to wake you up. When you wake up to your attention, you begin to reclaim the energy you have been losing. You do not need to do more. You just need to stop leaking. And when your energy starts to converge, something almost magical happens. Things that used to be hard to start become easier. You do not have to push yourself as much as before. Your energy naturally pushes you forward. But to maintain that convergence every day, you need more than a temporary decision. You need a way of living a structure that does not depend on inspiration. And that is why the next principle is especially important. Because even when you understand that energy flows where you place your attention, the next question still remains. How do I maintain this focus when my willpower declines? To answer that question, we need to talk about systems and habits, the foundation that makes success almost automatic. Principle 5. Do not trust willpower. Build systems. There is a very common mistake that most people make when talking about success. They believe they just need strong enough willpower. They say, I will try harder. They promise, I will be more disciplined. They believe that this time, with a bigger effort, they will overcome themselves. But willpower was not designed to carry your whole life. Willpower is like a muscle. It gets tired, it weakens, and it cannot be forced to work continuously without a cost. I used to place too much expectation on my willpower. I thought that if I was determined enough in the morning, I would keep my focus until the end of the day. But I soon realized that at some point, after pressures, after small choices, after distractions, willpower gradually runs out. And when willpower runs out, old habits return. Not because I lacked determination, but because I lacked systems. Successful people understand one thing very clearly. You cannot build a sustainable future on an unstable resource. Willpower is unstable. Inspiration is unstable. Circumstances are always changing. Only structure lasts. Intentional focus does not depend on whether you feel like doing it. It depends on how you have designed your life. Disciplined people are not people who always have motivation. They are people who live in an environment where doing the right thing becomes easier than doing the wrong thing. Think about railroad tracks. The train does not need to be determined to go in the right direction. It goes in the right direction because the tracks have already been laid. Your system is those tracks. When you have a good system, you do not need to think much every day. You do not have to negotiate with yourself. You do not have to ask, should I do this today? Because the answer was decided in advance. Many people fail not because they do not know what they need to do. They fail because every day they have to decide all over again from the beginning. Decisions consume energy. Repeated decisions consume a lot of energy. Wise people reduce the number of decisions they need to make by turning important actions into thoughtless habits. A person who wants to be healthy does not rely on willpower to exercise. They build a fixed schedule. A person who wants to learn does not wait for inspiration to read. They attach reading to a non-negotiable time block. A person who wants to progress does not ask every day whether they should do it or not. They just do it because it is how they live. I learned that light discipline repeated always beats short bursts of effort. One small action every day, if maintained, will defeat any big effort that lacks consistency. Intentional focus is protected best, not by pressure but by rhythm. The rhythm of the morning, the rhythm of deep work, the rhythm of ending the day. When you live by rhythm, you do not have to fight yourself. You simply step into a flow that has already been designed. And here's what surprises many people. Systems do not take away your freedom. Systems create freedom. When you do not have to constantly decide, you have more energy for creativity, for deep thinking, for big choices. Freedom does not come from having no structure. Freedom comes from having the right structure. I used to think discipline was force. Now I understand discipline is liberation. Liberation from procrastination, liberation from guilt, liberation from having to start over every time you fail. Ask yourself one very real question. Are the most important things in your life currently protected by systems, or are they being left to willpower? If the answer is willpower, that is not an accusation. It is a signal that you are ready for the next step, a step that requires more maturity, more endurance. Because once you have systems, you will need something to keep you going even when things get hard. And that thing is discipline, not harsh discipline, but discipline as a bridge between what you want and what you achieve. And that is exactly the next principle. Principle 6. Discipline is the bridge between goals and results. There is a gap that most people never manage to cross. It is the gap between what they want and what they achieve. They have dreams. They have plans. They have good intentions, but the results do not come. And the reason is not that they do not know what to do. The reason is that they do not have a bridge to get across. That bridge is called discipline. Discipline is not inspiration. Discipline is not motivation. Discipline is the decision to do what needs to be done even when you do not feel like it. I used to think discipline was a burden. I looked at disciplined people and thought they were forcing themselves to live a harsh life. But then I realized a very different truth. The most disciplined people are also the freest. They are free from procrastination. They are free from guilt. They are free from having to start over from scratch every time they fail. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is an investment. You pay a small price today so you do not have to pay a big price tomorrow. Most people do not avoid discipline because they are lazy. They avoid discipline because they underestimate the cost of being undisciplined. No discipline in health you pay with illness. No discipline in learning you pay with limited capability. No discipline in finances you pay with pressure and insecurity. No discipline in your thinking you pay with a reactive life. That cost does not appear immediately. It accumulates, quietly. And by the time you realize it, it is very expensive. Discipline is different. It also accumulates, quietly, but in the opposite direction. A few small disciplines every day, reading a little, thinking a little, training a little, may seem insignificant, but over time they create an entirely different person. I learned that you do not need discipline for everything. You only need discipline for the right things. The right discipline does not exhaust you. It gives you strength. When you know what you will do each day, you no longer have to negotiate with yourself. You no longer have to ask, should I today? Because the answer was decided a long time ago. Discipline turns decisions into identity. You are no longer someone who is trying to live well. You become someone who lives by standards. And this is very important. Standards always beat goals. A goal is something you pursue. A standard is something you refuse to go below. Someone with a goal to exercise may miss a few days. Someone with a standard for health will not compromise by neglecting themselves. Someone with a goal to learn may study when they feel like it. Someone with a standard for growth will study whether they feel like it or not. Discipline is the tool that turns goals into living standards. And when discipline becomes a standard, your life changes in a very natural way. You do not have to force yourself to get better. You do not allow yourself to get worse. I used to think discipline had to be big. Now I understand the most effective discipline is often very small. Waking up on time, starting the day with the most important task, not skipping the small commitments you make to yourself. These small disciplines do not impress anyone, but they build character, And character always comes before success. You can pretend to be disciplined in front of other people, but you cannot pretend to be disciplined in front of yourself. At the end of each day, the question is not, how did I feel today? It is, did I keep my word to myself today? If the answer is yes, you are building a bridge. If the answer is no, the gap is still there. Discipline does not require you to be perfect. It requires you to be consistent. You can stumble, but you come back. You can be slow, but you do not stop. And that coming back again and again is what creates the difference between the people who go far and the people who quit. When you look back at the lives of people with lasting success, you will not see dramatic explosions. You will see ordinary days lived with seriousness. That is the power of discipline. But even discipline needs a context to unlock its full power. Because if you are disciplined without understanding why, you can become rigid, exhausted, and directionless. And that is why we need the final principle, the principle that helps you understand why the people who go the farthest are often not the loudest, and why lasting success is always built in silence. Principle 7. Lasting success is always built in silence. There is a truth very few people are willing to accept. The most important changes in life do not make noise. They do not announce themselves. They do not attract attention, and they are rarely recognized while they are happening. Lasting success always begins in silence. Like a seed deep in the ground, no one applauds when it sprouts. No one cheers when its roots grow deep. But it is in that darkness that the foundation is formed. Many people quit because they look for signs too soon. They want results immediately. They want recognition. They want to know their effort is working. But success does not operate that way. If you only continue when you are encouraged, you will not go far. If you only work when you feel motivated, you will not last. Only when you learn to repeat the right thing in silence do you begin to build something that cannot be taken away. I used to hope that if I was on the right path, life would give me clear signals. But what I learned is this: life rarely gives you signals. It gives you results later. Quiet consistency is not doing more. It is continuing, even when nothing is happening on the outside. No praise, no leaps, no breakthrough moment. Just ordinary days lived with real seriousness. Most people measure progress by emotion. Today I feel excited, I am moving forward. Today I feel discouraged, I am going the wrong way. But emotions are an unreliable measure. Wise people measure progress by consistency. Did I do the right thing today? Did I keep my standards? Did I come back, even though I was tired yesterday? Quiet consistency is the ability to return again and again without anyone seeing it. And here is the paradox. People who seek attention often do not build anything that lasts. People who build what lasts rarely seek attention. They do not need to prove where they are going. They know what they are building. That silence creates a very special kind of strength. It allows you to do deep work. It allows you to make mistakes without shame. It allows you to grow without the pressure of comparison. When you stop performing for the world, you start working for the future. I learned that lasting success does not come from big decisions. It comes from small decisions repeated long enough. Read a little every day. Think a little every day. Train a little every day. Keep your word to yourself every day. These things look too small to make a difference until you look back after a few years. And when you look back, you will not remember each day. You will only see a very large distance between who you used to be and who you have become. Quiet consistency also teaches you another important lesson. You do not have to win fast. You just have to not quit. Life does not reward sprinters. It rewards the person who is still there when everyone else has stopped. Many people start with big energy. Very few finish with calmness. That calmness does not come from everything being easy. It comes from knowing you can trust yourself because you have proven it day after day in silence. When you live by quiet consistency, you no longer panic on bad days. You no longer doubt yourself whenever your emotions drop. You know, one day does not define your life, the chain of days does. And that is why this principle locks the entire journey we have discussed. You begin by stopping the worship of busyness. You learn to live with intention. You prioritize the big rocks. You converge your energy. You build systems. You walk with discipline. And finally, you stay. You stay when no one is watching. You stay when there is no applause. You stay when results are still far away. Because you understand something. Very few people understand. Lasting success does not need to be seen, it only needs to be built. And if you can do that day after day, in silence, then at some point the world will see the results even though you never sought their attention. As we reach the end of this video, I want you to pause for a moment, not to memorize something new, but to look back at how you are living. You have seen that lasting success does not come from doing more. It comes from doing better. Not from busyness, but from intentional focus, nurtured every day by discipline and quiet consistency. You do not need to change everything in your life today. You only need to change one standard, one small but non-negotiable decision, one right action repeated long enough. Because your life tomorrow is not created by big dreams, it is created by the small choices you persistently hold to. If there's one thing I want you to carry with you after this video, it is this. You and I have the same gift that is today, and how you use today will determine the shape of your life for many years to come. Do not wait until everything is clearer. Do not wait until you feel more ready. Clarity comes after action, not before it. If the principles in this video truly spoke to you, if you are serious about building a better life, not just a faster one, hit subscribe to continue with me at Jim Rohn Treasures. This is where we return to the foundational principles, to live slower, deeper, and more correctly each day. If you found this video valuable, like and share so others also have a chance to pause and reflect. And I want to ask you one question. Answer honestly in the comments. Which principle in today's 7 principles made you think the most, and when will you start applying it? I will close with a reminder I always treasure. Success is not a destination, it is the journey you persist through every day. I truly appreciate that you stayed until the end of this video. See you in the next video, and until then, live today wisely.